Welcome back, everybody. Time for some more End of a New Beginning. Playing as the United States, it's May of 1872. We've just taken some more territory here by defeating Colombia. However, we are still at war because Colombia had an ally in Chile. And Chile is not really a country that I can get at very easily down here. So unfortunately, at least for the time being, there's not a lot we can do, and we can't really sue for peace. So we're going to kind of have to hope that war just kind of peters out on its own. And then we're going to take a little break, try to build back our political stability by not constantly declaring war for a little while. So this will kind of be an episode where we're mostly just building things back up, working on stability, working on infrastructure, working on building our economy. So it might not be quite as exciting in terms of expansion, but you can see our current state of things with the United States of America, which we just want to build up as much as we can. Right now, in terms of research, we're working on some things that are pretty far ahead of their time at the moment. Early protected cruiser hull and early Zeppelin designs are both 1875 technology. But I want to get a jump start on those, and then I'll probably work on some other things. There really wasn't a lot that I wanted to work on in terms of research at the moment, so that's why we're choosing those things. I think we're going to go ahead and order General Sherman just to bring the majority of troops back home. Justification of conquering where? Zuila? I don't even know where that... Oh, is that meant to be Venezuela, perhaps? I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. We're not going to attack Venezuela right now. I've decided to hold off. I already canceled my justification on Ecuador. We're just going to chill for now. So, yeah, take Zuila from Venezuela was my goal there. So, yeah, we're going to chill. We're not going to do any of those things. I think we will keep this army down in Ecuador, but bring the majority of the rest of them back home. Okay, we've got the option to destroy the Klan. Let's do that. I don't know what it does at this point since we're past Reconstruction, but we'll go ahead and do it anyway. And we've also got some more research to do here. And since we're doing a bunch of things that are taking a while, I do want to at least have one research focus that's on something that's a little more manageable. Dry plate, that's going to improve our naval abilities, because we are going to start focusing on the Navy with things like the Spanish-American War down the road, and obviously eventually I want to expand in the Caribbean as well. So in terms of national focus, right now we're working on the Gilded Age focus tree, and we have to complete all of these things that we're able to in order to get to rapid industrialization, which is going to give me a bunch of bonuses that I really could use. Of course, the biggest thing hurting me right now is my political stability. So we've got to find ways to deal with that, and I'm not entirely sure what there are, but maybe what we need to do is start pushing through some votes on some things to see if that'll help with that. Where are we at now? So political system. Yeah, so we're just trying to get through all of those right now. All right, we're going to try something here. It's not going to be easy. It's only 1872. But let's go ahead and pull up a vote for universal suffrage. Of course, I have a government that's 71% traditional conservative. So it feels like the odds that kind of bill is going to get passed are probably not real high at the moment. The U.S. government system's still under construction right now, so this is an area that isn't currently being worked on, but that'll be interesting when it is available to see all those new options. So as of now, we actually have the votes to pass this. I mean, if only just barely, but let's go ahead and work on the conservatives if we can find that. Meet traditional conservative representatives, because that makes up the majority of things. Speech, play it safe, focus on our people. Please give me a minus. Oh, I thought for sure that was going to be the right choice to help my political stability. I guess not. But let's see here. The votes in 10 days. Meeting with the traditional conservatives garnered me another 11 votes. We are going to have the votes to pass this. So we are going to bring universal suffrage to the United States in January of 1873. well ahead of our time by a good 45 years or so. Oh, about 40 years. I can't remember. I think it was maybe it was 1913. That was the 19th Amendment to the United States is what brought that. There we go. It passed. Oh, okay, it was 1919. I was right the first time. Okay. We finally dropped back to -4 on political stability, and now we're going to work on promoting laissez-faire economic policies. You can see the effects that those are going to have. Other than research speed, it's going to help things a lot. So we'll focus on that. It's February 1873. Passing the law that we were promoting is what helped with the political stability. So let's go ahead and look for other opportunities to promote stability. Infrastructure maintenance. We're already at rapid network expansion. I don't know what changing that would do, but I feel pretty good about keeping it where it is. Let's take a look at the other options. Naval infrastructure, economic mobilization. We're on civilian economy, which is probably where we have to be right now. Education. We have open schools, so we could go to compulsory education. Let's go ahead and vote on that reform in a month. And we'll take a look and see where we are on that vote. Right now, again, we're right at 129. So again, I think we'll meet with the conservatives just to ensure that vote passes. In the meantime, technology. So here's 1870. For those not familiar with the game, the reason these dates matter is because if you are ahead of schedule, so for example, it's 1873. So researching an 1870 level technology is going to take what it would normally take. If I try to research something here in 1880, you can see here this technology is 11.85 years ahead of time. The more ahead it is, the bigger the time penalty. So in other words, right now it would take 2,400 days to research this. If I wait until 1880 to research it, it'll take far less time. So that's kind of how that all works, and we're pretty well caught up on all of that stuff there. All right, this will give us a resource gain efficiency, and it's only 94 days. All right. Protests have rung out across the nation and are outraged by the use of child labor. Pictures of the poor conditions of a factory in New Hampshire shows the horrific conditions placed on children and teenagers. People have begun to call for legislation to stop this, but the business tycoons have requested for us to ignore those, claiming that the conditions for child workers are exaggerated slander. Well, they're not, but I can do this and increase Carnegie, Still, and Standard Oil's opinion of us, but we lose base stability. And right now our national stability is only at 46%. That's primarily being affected by the fact that we're at war, which I can't seem to end at the moment. I may need to take my Navy down and just try to deal with Chile so I can end that war, because it's really hurting me. We'll wait for this to blow over for now, but eventually I think we will bring about a vote on child labor. Right now we're waiting for the vote on Mandatory School Act of 1873, where we're going to create compulsory education. And here we go on that vote. It's going to be close, but we should have the votes to pass it. Whoa. So I want to understand why the estimate told me I had 133, but the actual vote comes out at 118. That tells me that I really don't have a clue about how people are voting. Grant statehood to Nebraska. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and do that. So I don't know. I don't have kind of the relationship with Congress that I wish I did, obviously. So I hope that doesn't cause my political stability to go back down again. So looking at discriminatory laws, right now we have segregation, which is kind of the direction the U.S. was going. In the late 1800s, there was a Supreme Court case called Plessy versus Ferguson, and it basically ruled that segregation was legal so long as there was this idea of something called separate but equal. So they didn't have to have the same restrooms so long as there were restrooms provided for both. You didn't have to eat at the same part of the restaurant so long as there was a place at the restaurant for both. And that was eventually overturned in the 1950s in another Supreme Court case called Brown versus the Topeka Board of Education. That ruled that separate but equal is inherently unequal. So that was when desegregation began. But we're going to try to do that now, and we'll take baby steps. Maybe that'll be more likely to be voted for. So let's go to limited equality. Again, these are conservatives primarily in the Congress, so that may be why I'm having trouble with some of these reforms. But we're going to go ahead and give it a try and see what happens. Let's go ahead and take a look at the vote. Oh, 173 in favor for this. I probably don't need to do anything. There's no point in spending legislative power on a vote that seems, at least on the surface, to be sure to pass. We'll see. Overwhelming vote on the Equality Act of 1873, 170 in favor, only 86 opposed. So that brings us to a political stability of 3. Fighting in the streets stops. So very slowly through our voting, we are getting the results that we'd like to see. What do we need to do here? The spoils system. So the spoils system was, there was a lot going on with what was called civil service reform in the 1870s. The idea, of course, the common notion at the time was that if your side won an election, well, to the victor go the spoils, which means you get to appoint all of these positions. And one of the primary sources of revenue for the federal government at this time was the New York Customs House. And so that was kind of a prime position, and there were a ton of political appointees in that department. And it was hugely sought after, and there was a lot of corruption going on. So the spoils system, the civil service reform, that was all part of dealing with kind of the cronyism in politics at the time. All right, so we've got, let's see, we want to continue building up our civilian industry. So anywhere we can find to do that, let's just go ahead and queue up some more factories. Oh, we've also got some of these available. Early convoy, prototype submarine hulls. It's funny, a lot of these I can't really build, and I'm not really sure. I think I just don't have certain modules built. But, for example, an 1870 monitor hull, I'm not sure why. Design lacks one or more of the required modules. So I don't know what modules I need to build in order to have an 1870 monitor hull. Or a late ironclad hull A1. I'm not entirely sure how all this works. Maybe somebody can explain that part to me. Okay, this is why I didn't realize there was so much involved in building ships. You have to actually go into the ship designer and put your various design features into it. So I can just go with an auto design, maybe. So right here you can put what kind of battery you want. No module for that. Oh, there is an early fire control system. We can put medium batteries, early medium turret, and so on and so forth. So that's really kind of what we need to be doing, is designing our ships the way we want them. This is a really cool feature that I'm sure is going to come in to play much more as we get into the 20th century. Won't let me save. I don't have enough experience points to spend. I have 0 Navy experience right now. Alright, so that's something we'll play with a little bit more later on. Alright, let's continue to look at reforms that we can make. Right now we have only private ventures in research funding. Let's go ahead up to limited state sponsorship. So we'll vote on that in a month, and we'll see what kind of response we're getting from the government on that one. 152 right now. That feels pretty good, but I've been bitten before. So let's go ahead and... who are we getting really good right now? The centrists are the ones we're not getting. So let's go ahead and meet with the centrist representatives while we go ahead and continue to do some research. Phonograph. Thomas Edison's going to be a little ahead of his time here. Okay, the Science Funding Act of 1873 has been passed. That gets us to a -2 political stability. We are slowly but surely climbing our way out of the depths of the destruction that we made for ourselves. Now, what's cool about this is, of course, that eventually when we get it to the positive side, then we can start thinking about wars again, because we will balance the instability of going to war with the stability created by voting on different things. We're a secular state right now. I think we'll keep it right there. Education right now, we have the open schools. We're going to try again to vote on the compulsory education bill. What do we still need? We just need adjust policies now, which we can't get because the Confederate States of America doesn't exist. So does that mean we can't? Oh, no, we can. I only needed one of those following. Okay. So we'll do this, rapid industrialization. And then from there, we get down into this next area of the tree. We've also got big stick diplomacy down here, which can't happen until January of 1898. This is a tree that will allow for the Spanish-American War. And you can see, remember the Maine right there. We'll talk about that when we get a little closer and we can actually do some of those things. It's telling me we've got 140 votes for this. I don't trust it at all because it didn't turn out last time. We've got 91% of social egalitarians, only 40% of the traditional conservatives. So that's who we're going to meet with. We've got 28 days till the vote. Dispute over the Constitution. The American Constitution was supposed to resolve most issues regarding to law, but nothing is ever perfect, and an unclear article has led to a big debate in court recently. The end of the decision came down to us. Change the Constitution to avoid confusion. Yeah, let's do that. Big scale protests quiet down. Good to know. Good to know. American military technology developments. Our ongoing war could perhaps be ended more quickly if we had superior technology compared to our opponents, and now we have taken a small step into that direction once again. A hardworking group of researchers, motivated by patriotic fervor, has developed revolutionary new weapons technology with some funding. So we get a 50%, one-time 50% bonus for infantry weapons on our next research. I'm moving a couple of navies into position over here. A couple of fleets. We've got one that already came in here under Admiral Foote. So we're going to try to get ourselves in a position where we can take some troops from here to go end this pestilential war in Chile. So I've got to see which Chile I'm actually at war with. And it looks like it's... Which one? Let's take a look. Because we've got Chile on our side, Chile on their side. So let me click on my own country, and then I'll be able to see. Okay, so I'm at war with the one that's separated here. So that's where we're going to have to land. We could actually land our troops up here to help push into this one. All right, so I've got military access in this northern part of Chile that's in a civil war. We've issued orders for George Meade's army to go load up over here. They're going to load up with the home squadron under Foote, and Foote's going to deliver them down there, and we're going to end this war. Meanwhile, the Mandatory School Act of 1873 overwhelmingly passes this time. That gets us to a -1 political stability. Voting on one more piece of legislation will get us back to 0. So let's look at health care. Right now we have no health care. So let's go ahead and vote for a low health care reform. Okay, right now it's got 140 votes. Looks like the Radical Democrats. Riots gone from the streets. Excellent news. The Radical Democrats appear to be the ones that we could probably use a little more support from. All right, research. Let's look over at Army Research. So we've got some nice bonuses here to some various things that are going to really reduce them quickly. So let's go ahead and research standardized revolvers. Okay, you can see the divisions starting to arrive. I'm not entirely sure why they're headed down that way. Looks like they're going to land in Buenos Aires. I'm not sure why that is exactly. Maybe that's the closest port. Yeah, there's no port over here. That's the problem. Okay, our troops are crossing through Argentina. We got the vote on the Healthcare Budget Act of 1873. That gets us back to 0 on political stability. That's huge. Okay, and now our forces are into position and attacking towards Santiago. We're going to end this war, hopefully, when we take Santiago. Opposition sinks. It did not come to anyone as a surprise, but many governmental politicians who tried to oppose the Constitutional Union Party have quieted down thanks to our efforts. However, it is to be assumed that there are still people who would like to see somebody else as leader of the United States of America other than John Bell. I would be one of those people. All right, we are on the doorstep of Santiago. We've taken Santiago. Is that enough to end this war is the question. Apparently not. All right, so we're going to have to press on. That's not a huge deal. The question is, are we going to be able to get through to this other side? We're going to need permission from the Wallamapu people. And we're not going to get military access. It figures. And I don't think we're going to have enough by taking this other territory. Oh, we did. Thank goodness, because that was going to get really complicated otherwise. Now we can take all of Colombia, I guess. End turn. Pass. Now we've got enough to take the remaining states. Excellent. So now we can move our nation back up, or our army back up to the north. Our neighbors grow suspicious. Our actions recently have not gone unnoticed. If we were to continue our aggressions, we may see ourselves become too much of a target. Well, that's okay. Let's go ahead and get our troops moved back to friendly confines. We're probably going to have to do that through naval transport once again. All right, so yeah, we're moving right back to Buenos Aires, where we will get on our flotilla. We'll take them back up here to Colombia. And we have no divisions of basic training, but again, that's not really a concern of mine. We're building up manpower for when we might need it down the road. We're into 1874 now. John Bell holds a speech. Let's see if that actually, yep, that bumps us up to +1. We have researched the early protected cruiser hull. We've got some other things down here, though. Modern ironclad rams, breech-loaded shells. That's huge. Let's go ahead and research that. Okay, so we have a choice to make in our political focus tree here now. We've researched progress of machines. Now we need to choose captains of industry or robber barons. And the choice in that case just really kind of determines base stability increase or legislative power increase. I've got lots of legislative power. Let's go ahead and choose the stability, which right now our stability is at 93%. So getting done with that war, building up our political stability have really resulted in some significant positive steps for our nation. If you've been at all curious of what the European landscape looks like right now, here you have it. We have kind of our modern German state now, the North German Confederation. It looks like it pretty much did going into World War I. Of course, you've got the area of Alsace-Lorraine, which eventually, I mean, in modern day is part of France, but kind of went back and forth over the centuries between the two. The Kingdom of Italy is largely formed at this point. We have just the Papal States surrounding Rome. We've got the Austrian Empire looking as it pretty much did. The Ottomans, at kind of their greatest extent, they're going to start losing this territory, historically anyway, as you get closer to World War I because of a couple of wars that take place in those years leading up to it. You've got the Romanian United Principalities right there. You've got Russia. And then here's what things look like over in Asia. And then, of course, Africa, which is just fractured into a ton of little states. All right, Carnegie Steel. Oh, we need both captains of industry and robber barons. Got it. All right, we'll go a couple of more months here, and then I think we'll wrap this episode up. So let's take a look at some of the naval research right now, because I've got, in addition to the hulls that you research, you also have to research the actual components, the armaments. I just did breech-loaded shells. Down here you've got modern ironclad rams, hydraulic machinery, and then eventually single-barreled turret 1, twin-barreled turret 1, high explosive rounds, and then you get into a bunch of things like early AP rounds, single-barreled turret 2. And we have to research some of these turrets in order to actually be able to build something like the cruisers that I want to build. So let me take a look at that for a second, and I'll show you what I mean. I've got the early protected cruiser hull available to me, but what I don't have are the components I need in order to be able to make an early protected cruiser. So for example, a battery, an early medium turret, things of that nature. I can get the twin turrets and so on, and I haven't researched those yet. So until I actually research some of those things, I don't really have the ability to place some of them on there. And also I'm going to need the Navy experience to make that happen. So I'm going to have to work on that as well. So those are just a couple of things I need to do. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up right here. That's been about 2 years in game, from 1872 to 74, but a lot happened. And I feel like our country is in a much better position moving forward. So let me know your thoughts. Use a comment section below. Tell me where you think I should go next. What should I be focused on? What should I be thinking about? How would you take it if it were up to you? Drop a like if you would, and we'll see you again in a couple of days with another episode. Thanks for watching.